Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng looked afar at nine-headed demon master's miniature universe. On his body, he wore Wu Qi God, which was instantly propelled to reach its ultimate limit, and the powerful force was directly transmitted to Blood Ghost Blade in his grip. Destroy. Blood Ghost Blade lit up. An incredibly dazzling, white gold, arc-shaped blade of light, almost as long as 1 light year, flashed mightily across the void space and slashed the membrane wall of the distant miniature universe. Soundlessly, a crack appeared on the membrane walls of the miniature universe. Then the blade of light flew off horizontally toward the origin of the miniature universe. The origin would be right in the middle of the miniature universe. On his throne, nine-headed demon master's expression registered a drastic change. He was greatly taken aback. What is? The mighty blade of light was incredibly fast. Its speed far exceeded 100 million times light speed. It was important to note that the speed at which the godly king's corpse drifted was suspected of being able to greatly exceed 100 million times light speed. The attack speed of that blade of light was naturally much faster. Even though the diameter of the miniature universe was quite large, it was estimated that it would not take more than half a day to fly to where the origin was. Everywhere that the blade light passed by, a crack would appear on the surface, and a great number of life forms living within those spaces would be annihilated. What a terrifying blade of light! Nine-headed demon master was shocked and furious. It must be Luo Feng. It must be him. The sector beasts would not attack him. And the other great beings from the various races of Universe Ocean were simply incapable of achieving something like this. Only Luo Feng could possibly accomplish this. The only thing that nine-headed demon master had not expected was that Luo Feng would be so terrifying. I cannot let him destroy the origin. Nine-headed demon master absolutely would not allow such a thing to happen. Nine-headed demon master teleported right away. He boarded a golden battleship, which quickly expanded to a length of 1 light year. Then it appeared in the peripheral void space of one of the surfaces of the affected spaces, blocking the path on which the white gold blade of light was advancing. I am not going to believe that you can destroy this true god-level treasure. Nine-headed demon master said through clenched teeth. Even a true god of void space would be unable to destroy a true god's weapon, let alone a battleship especially able to block off material attacks. It's coming. Nine-headed demon master held his breath with apprehension. The dazzling, white gold blade of light slammed and crashed right into the golden battleship. There was a sudden vibration, as the arc-shaped blade exploded right away, and transformed into an endless shock wave that swept outward in all directions. Suddenly, all the surfaces in the surroundings seemed to become bubbles that burst and disintegrated into nothingness in split seconds. The countless life forms in these spaces were annihilated before they even had the chance to react. At the same time, the battleship, upon being struck, was overwhelmed by the tremors and thrown far into the distance at high speed. Luo Feng's brows furrowed as he stood suspended in the void space outside the miniature universe. Seems like I still need to get in there. Luo Feng drove Star Tower right into the miniature universe, crashing into its membrane wall to cause it to fall apart. Then, right away, he charged inside. Teleporting repeatedly, he made his way deeper into the miniature universe at top speed. Freeze! Nine-headed demon master, in its tumbling battleship, immediately realized that Star Tower had forced its way in and was teleporting about. It became so frightened that it wasted no time in manipulating the space in his miniature universe, so as to prevent Luo Feng from teleporting. Humph! Luo Feng merely snorted coldly. If he hadn't been rushed for time, he could have flown over at high speed to where the origin was and smashed it to nothingness with one strike. But now, with 900,000 sector beasts entering Universe Ocean, time was not a luxury he could afford to waste on nine-headed demon master. All he could do was execute his trump card. Establish a universe with one single thought. A sharp glint flashed in Luo Feng's eyes. At present, Shawu Wings, with the origin as its core, would bring its energy to undergo a transformation. Then it would execute the fourth level of establishing a universe with one single thought. It was considered to truly be an automaton-type treasure. A vast miniature universe was born instantly with a diameter as wide as 10,000 light-years. When the origin was not being used, Luo Feng would find it an arduous task to execute this move, and the miniature universe would not be able to get so big. But at this moment, it could reach a diameter of 10,000 light-years. At times when there was no origin, the might of the miniature universe that Luo Feng displayed exceeded the might of a miniature universe of a true god, not to mention now. Move. With a single teleportation, Luo Feng covered a distance of close to 50,000 light-years. His Shawu wings were the core of this miniature universe. When the wings changed location, the miniature universe naturally changed, too. The so-called universe membrane wall was, in fact, not worth a mention. Regardless of whether it was the primal universe or the miniature universe of a true god, it was only a small matter when the membrane walls were bombarded and broken, as they would soon be naturally repaired. The membrane walls were only the equivalent of a boundary. This was the boundary that the power of the origin could influence. The power of the origin could spread into areas within this boundary, but outside this area, the power of the origin could not affect anything. When Luo Feng teleported, his miniature universe naturally followed suit. Every time he advanced, it was a distance of 50,000 light-years, so within a short time, a few million light-years had been covered. This only enhanced Nine-Headed Demon Master's fear. He was no longer bothered about his miniature universe, as he had quickly boarded his battleship and escaped. But he knew that if Luo Feng caught up with him, it meant certain death. Destroy. Luo Feng wielded his blood ghost blade. The dazzling golden blade light sliced through the faraway origin that was set amidst a vast, chaotic setting. The origin was trying its best to resist, but it was still being bombarded and blown apart. All of the space within the entire miniature universe had collapsed, and all the living beings were annihilated. Only Nine-Headed Demon Master was alive, panicking and escaping in a frenzied manner. Escape. Luo Feng retracted the miniature universe that Shawu Wings had created and teleported quickly, chasing after Nine-Headed Demon Master. In less than 2 minutes. Milky Way Horde leader, Nine-Headed Demon Master said, trying to explain himself. He was filled with fear within its battleship. I was left with no choice. I did not want my entire race to be annihilated, and I also. Luo Feng gave him a look of indifference. Star Tower appeared and remained suspended high above. Right away, from the base of Star Tower, an endless darkness shrouded Nine-Headed Demon Master. An infinitely huge miniature universe appeared. After confining Nine-Headed Demon Master in Star Tower, Luo Feng speedily made his way back. On the way, he made use of Divine Eye technique to force Nine-Headed Demon Master out of his battleship, thereafter annihilating him without much difficulty. Divine Eye technique was an attack on the conscious mind. A palace-type treasure, even one as strong as Star Tower, would not be able to put up a defense against such an ethereal kind of attack on the conscious mind. Primal Universe, the territory of the humans, Milky Way Holy Land. Numerous gigantic doors of universe passageways were scattered all over the surroundings of Milky Way Holy Land, as they remained suspended in void space. Every door of a universe passageway represented a miniature universe. Rise. Rise. Various true gods were there. Some were gigantic, green plant-type life forms. Some were true gods in the form of long, winding beasts. Some were towering, mountain-type life forms. All the true gods from the primal universe had arrived at Milky Way Holy Land and constructed their universe passageways amid the surroundings. This way, help could arrive at any miniature universe in the fastest possible time. In the past, true gods had not dared to enter other miniature universes, because the moment they entered another miniature universe, their lives, and their deaths, would be under the control of the other party. But now, things were different. The power of the origin of a miniature universe was limited. It was still inferior to Luo Feng's technique of establishing a universe with a single thought. In the past, true gods had not owned automaton-type treasures. Many had not even owned palace-type supreme true treasures, which naturally made it easy for the power of the origin of a miniature universe to kill a true god. Even with a palace supreme true treasure, true gods were still easily suppressed for eternity, and escape was impossible. But now, the true gods were more powerful, and they also had automaton-type treasures. Even the power of the origin of a miniature universe would not be able to exert any oppressive force. Milky Way. Milky Way Horde Leader. Milky Way Horde Leader. When Luo Feng appeared, all the true gods, who had constructed universe passageways, greeted him right away. There were even some who naturally responded with traces of deference. Within Universe Ocean, it had always been the great beings with physical power who reigned supremacy. With Milky Way Horde Leader's power, he would undoubtedly gain great respect. Moreover, he now represented the hope of the various races. Who would dare ignore his presence? Attention, all. Luo Feng looked around at the large group of true gods. In the face of this crisis, all of us from the primal universe must unite. It is very rare for humans to have huge godly bodies, but most of you here do have huge godly bodies. When it comes to confronting the sector beasts, we will need to rely on any help all of you can render. It was true. Among the human race, those who became true gods were those who were almost universe masters a trillion centuries prior. There was also a portion of newly appointed true gods who had emerged after that. These were talents like Fire Dome True God. Because humans normally had small godly bodies, even if they had the ability to divide bodies, it was hard to come by individuals with large godly bodies. As for the other life forms, like the mountains and the trees and plant types, they were naturally endowed with exceptionally large godly bodies. We will all try our very best. We shall fight this battle to our deaths. One by one, the true gods responded. Luo Feng nodded gently. His expression did not ease up a bit. There was simply no way to find these responses reassuring. Luo Feng. Suddenly, streams of flowing light were seen from a distance. Instantly, the lights descended, and Primal Chaos City Leader, 9 Remoteness True Master, and several other true gods appeared. Teacher. Luo Feng approached the group to extend his welcome. Just as you have expected, Primal Chaos City Leader said solemnly, the sector beasts have started to attack the peripheral miniature universe of the first reincarnation era. Such a vast and mighty sea of sector beasts. There is simply no way we can stop them. Luo Feng remained silent. Of course, he knew. By relying on Morosa, he knew everything about the sector beasts. Yet, even if he knew, what could he do about it? Milky Way Horde Leader, please save my skeleton race. Milky Way Horde Leader. Oh, please save the people of my rampaging clan. Milky Way Horde Leader. One after another, the true gods were begging for help. When news broke about miniature universes from the first and second reincarnation eras being attacked, the true gods from these 2 reincarnation eras went into a frenzy and went about begging for help. Even those whose miniature universes had yet to be attacked were starting to seek help. However, the human race, as well as the various races from the primal universe, did not send out a single army to help. Sorry. There's nothing I can do. Dear all, there is no stopping this. It is better for you to all run for your dear lives. Luo Feng replied most courteously, but the cruelty embedded in his words made everyone from the first and second reincarnation eras despair. Regardless of whether it was Luo Feng, Primal Chaos City Leader, or 9 Remoteness True Master, there was only rejection. No grounds for discussion. This is the cruelest moment for all of Universe Ocean, 9 Remoteness True Master said in a low voice. Even Primal Chaos City Leader could only say, this is a calamity. Luo Feng merely looked into the void space far in the distance. He knew that in that direction, there was another miniature universe belonging to the skeleton race, and at that very moment, it was being devoured. There was nothing he could do about this. He could only watch it all happen, and there was nothing he could do. Skeleton Master, what will become of our skeleton race? Almost finished. Outside a particular miniature universe, a few thousand sector beasts were scattered all over the place, and a black fog shrouded the whole region, with streams of distorted light rays penetrating the void space. At the moment, These few thousand sector beasts were devouring a particular miniature universe altogether, causing its origin to be devoured at an extremely fast rate. So fast that the true gods of the skeleton race were filled with fear. A few more minutes was all that would be required, and the entire miniature universe would be completely devoured. I am Skeleton Master. One of the 8 heroes of Universe Ocean, announced Skeleton Master. I am willing to pledge my allegiance to you, sector beasts, but please, I beseech you all to let my skeleton race go. And with that, Skeleton Master sincerely expressed his willingness to seek refuge with the sector beasts. A ferocious sector beast gazed at the skeleton life form in front of it. Skeleton Master. Stop. All the thousands of sector beasts were able to communicate via their hearts, and they all stopped eating right away. According to our plan, we should at least take one slave. Junjiu and Dragon Rock don't know any new information at all. Just take this Skeleton Master. Take him. All 900,000 sector beasts transmitted their voices and reached a consensus. If you're willing to side with us, said the black, ugly sector beast, I'll give you a chance. Skeleton Master looked a bit bitter, but he still showed gratefulness. Yes, he answered respectfully. All of a sudden, a bloody engraving picture started to show up in both the singular eyes of the sector beast. The 2 bloody engraving pictures were spinning. Skeleton Master watched the 2 engraving pictures in the sector beast's eyes, and his soul was mesmerized by them. No. Ah? Father. The space within one miniature universe started to crumble. The origin of that miniature universe was almost gone, so naturally, all the spaces within the miniature universe started to fall apart and be annihilated. Soon, the origin completely disappeared, and all the spaces were broken like shattered glass. All the life forms in the miniature universe perished. Sector beast, sector beast, sector beast. A man with 3 pairs of black wings hiding in the space in the distance raged. His miniature universe had just been destroyed, and so had his race. You're so useless, Milky Way Horde leader. Golden Armor True God from the Second Universe era roared. We put our trust in you. Our race will be gone first, and you humans will go extinct, too. He didn't run away. Instead, he chose to stay in his miniature universe to share in the fate of his people. His race was gone, and his miniature universe was gone. There was no chance that he could transcend incarnations. After the next universe era, he would still die. It was better for him to die now than to die alone in the future. I am Divine I True Master, one of the 8 great overlords, and I used to be the strongest great being in Universe Ocean. I possess a great amount of information, and I am willing to side with you. Divine I True Master made a request in the space to sector beasts. Side with us, thought the ferocious sector beast. The other thousands of sector beasts swallowing this miniature universe all stopped. Okay. The sector beast nodded. I'll give you this chance. Divine I True Master was relieved. Traces of black light burst out from the sector beast's body and penetrated the body of Divine I True Master. The armor and other valuables on the body of Divine I True Master didn't stop it whatsoever, and he didn't even try to resist it. Swallow. The sector beast immediately started to absorb him. Even if a true god had been resisting, it would have only taken a sector beast a short time to swallow him, let alone Divine I True Master, who wasn't resisting it at all. After only a short while, half of the godly body of Divine I True Master was gone. This is... Divine I True Master was shocked. Don't fight it, said the sector beast furiously. I have to consume almost all your godly power before I can convert it into the power of sector beasts. Only after that will you be our slave. Divine I True Master was hesitant, but he took the risk. Soon, all his godly power was devoured. Just before he died, Divine I True Master finally understood what had happened. He smiled bitterly and whispered, "Catastrophe." Then he was completely annihilated, and only some valuables were left floating. Idiot. The sector beast smirked. 8 great overlords. We have Skeleton Master to be our slave already. There's no need for any other slaves. Then it opened its mouth and swallowed all the valuables left by Divine, True Master, after he died. Sector beasts weren't able to use any of the weapons used by true gods. Their power was exactly the opposite to that of true gods, so they couldn't use them. However, they could still use them in the form of a disguise, such as holding an axe. They could use them as inanimate objects, but they couldn't enlarge them or drive the engravings on them. Everyone in Universe Ocean was in a daze. Inside East Emperor Holy Land, East Emperor Ancestor stood in the ancestral tree and looked at the people under him. What should we do now, Ancestor? Let's go outside. Let's go and kill those sector beasts. East Emperor Ancestor shook his head. No need to struggle. Let's wait for our final destiny. All the people under him were in despair, but they couldn't do anything about it. East Emperor Ancestor shook his head. The best he could do was to use his willpower to guard the origin, to help resist the swallowing power of the sector beasts. His willpower was already at the pinnacle eternal true god level. Once he used it to guard the origin, it would indeed slow down those sector beasts to a large extent. And besides, the origin of his miniature universe was more powerful than that of Purple Moon Ancestor. East Emperor Ancestor was shocked. They stopped. He could clearly tell that those sector beasts outside had stopped swallowing the origin. I've got a great opportunity, said Purple Moon Ancestor, and I haven't been truly powerful yet. Is this the end for me? No. I can't. Purple Moon Ancestor stood in the origin of his Purple Moon Holy Land and looked around. He yelled in agony. Suddenly, he looked stunned and joyful. They stopped. The sector beasts were marching forward, all the while passing along messages. It's too difficult to swallow the origins of the two holy lands. East Emperor Holy Land has the strongest resistance. Purple Moon Holy Land has a weaker resistance, but it's still much stronger than the miniature universes of those true gods. If we keep swallowing, it'll take a long time for us to finish them. The two holy lands didn't have any effect on us, so let's let them go first. Time is very important, and we need to seize the moment. Luo Feng is our greatest enemy now. Let's keep going. Destroy the first and the second universe era first. The sector beasts stuck together, working as a team. One miniature universe after another, all the races from the first and the second universe era were annihilated. There were many calls for help, and many swearing messages were sent to the original universe, yet the races in the original universe, including Luo Feng, didn't say anything about it. Calls for help, grudges, and curses, all kinds of messages were sent. Everyone in the original universe was terrified. One race after another was being annihilated. Ancestral God School. Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City Leader showed up in the Ancestral God secret region. They too were the leaders of the original universe. After the sector beasts destroyed the first and the second universe eras and started to advance toward the original universe, they came to the Ancestral God School. They both headed toward the Ancestral God Palace. The three ancestral gods sensed that they had arrived, so they let go of the seal so that they could teleport. Ancestral gods, Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City Leader said, stepping into the Ancestral God Palace. The young Ancestral God, the old Ancestral God, and the double-faced Ancestral God were all sitting on their thrones. The old Ancestral God said, Milky Way Horde Leader and Primal Chaos City Leader, this is the most crucial moment. The sector beasts might arrive in 1 or 2 days. This is a very vital time, so why are you two here? I'll ask some great beings from the Ancestral God School to go to Milky Way Holy Land later. The sector beasts are coming, replied Primal Chaos City Leader, and there are too many of them. They'll consume the universe origins quickly. Milky Way Horde Leader and I came here, because we hope that the original mind can let Teacher Origin go. If Teacher Origin doesn't have his willpower to guard his miniature universe will be swallowed instantly. Normally, for miniature universes of true gods, it would take thousands of sector beasts a few minutes to devour the origin. However, the primal universe didn't have the willpower of true gods to protect it, so it would be instantly annihilated. Please, original mind, let go of Teacher Origin, said Luo Feng. Let Teacher Origin go. The three ancestral gods looked at each other. Normally, they would have rejected the request of Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City Leader. After all, Teacher Origin had provoked the original mind, and that was why he had been suppressed. The original mind wouldn't just let him go so easily. Yet this was a special moment, a moment that would determine the fate of all the races in the original universe. Let us contact the original mind first, said the old ancestral god. Good. Let's wait. Primal Chaos City Leader and Luo Feng answered, but they were clearly under pressure. If Teacher Origin couldn't be released, the primal universe was destined to be annihilated. An invisible force showed up as the original mind had arrived. All three ancestral gods had closed their eyes and started to listen to what the original mind wanted to say. After a long time, they all opened their eyes and looked at Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City Leader apologetically. That look dazed Luo Feng. The answer appeared to be no. Is the original mind willing to release Teacher Origin? Asked Primal Chaos City Leader, looking pale. Luo Feng also stared at the three ancestral gods. The three ancestral gods looked at each other, and then the young ancestral god said, "The original mind has told us everything. There's no way Teacher Origin will be released. However, the original mind will stop suppressing his willpower. He can then condense a godly-powered avatar in the primal universe, so that he can guard his miniature universe with his willpower." Why would it do that? Luo Feng frowned. If it's not suppressing his willpower anymore, why doesn't it just let him go? Teacher Origin was suppressed, including his willpower. He couldn't even condense a godly power avatar outside. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Primal Chaos City Leader be in charge of the primal universe. Teacher Origin used his technique, Virtual Universe, which spread everywhere. That was how he sensed everything. However, his original body and his willpower were both still suppressed. Milky Way, the old ancestral god said with a sigh. Teacher Origin was very powerful before, and now that he's obtained the inheritance of the ancient civilization, he's even more powerful. If he gets out, he'll be at your level with the help of a machine-type valuable. With his power and yours, the original universe will stand a much better chance. The original mind would have let him go if it could do that. To tell you the truth, Teacher Origin broke the supreme laws before, and he was restrained by the supreme laws, and that was why the original mind suppressed him, and didn't have a right to release him. If you can solve the problem of the sector beasts, you will have made a great contribution, and only after that can Teacher Origin be let go. Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City Leader left the ancestral god palace, and went to the primal universe. On a piece of land in the primal universe, Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City Leader showed up and stood shoulder to shoulder. A being was condensed in the mist in the distance, and a white-caped man walked toward him. Teacher. Primal Chaos City Leader's body shook. He took a few steps, then shed a few tears. The white-caped Teacher Origin walked toward Primal Chaos City Leader and looked at him, "My child. You look totally different now. Seeing you in the virtual universe is different from seeing you in reality." Primal Chaos City Leader couldn't help crying. Teacher Origin was the person closest to him in this world, and he had been guiding him this whole time. Teacher. The voice of Primal Chaos City Leader was trembling. Okay. Teacher Origin nodded. I didn't realize that the original mind would lift the suppression on my willpower. I need to thank Luo Feng for that. Teacher Origin. Luo Feng also bowed. Teacher Origin had been the leader of the human race in the earliest era. Without him, the human race might not have even become a pinnacle race. Without him, there wouldn't have been Primal Chaos City Leader or Huge Axe. And Luo Feng might have walked a different path, and wouldn't have achieved his various accomplishments. He had made such significant contributions that he was qualified to be called the ancestor of the humans. I have my willpower to guard my miniature universe. Even if it's eaten by the sector beasts, it can still last for a while. Teacher Origin smiled. My willpower is much stronger than that of other true gods. Luo Feng nodded. The stronger someone's willpower was, the harder it would be for sector beasts to eat the miniature universe. Teacher Origin was certainly at the level of a true god of void space in terms of comprehension and conception. He was being suppressed, which was why he hadn't made a breakthrough. His willpower had been suppressed by the original mind for a long time. That suppression was also a great way to sharpen willpower. The willpower of Teacher Origin was terrifically powerful, and could certainly rival Luo Feng, who had met with great opportunities. "Go," said Teacher Origin. "The sector beasts are coming. Don't let me distract you. The most important thing is to deal with the sector beasts." "Okay." Primal Chaos City leader nodded. Luo Feng also nodded. Luo Feng did admire Teacher Origin. After all, he hadn't had the benefit of the ancient civilization before, yet he had still been able to create a technique like virtual universe. Besides, Teacher Origin appeared gentle and elegant. They had no idea what he had done to break the supreme laws. More and more great beings gathered in Milky Way Holy Land. Before, only representatives of the races had been there, but now, almost all the great beings were gathered here. Many original bodies of true gods had gathered here, and they also had godly power avatars to be connected to the virtual universe. In the floating godly palace in the virtual universe, Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City leader sat up top, while other true gods were sitting around. Everyone. Luo Feng looked around. The miniature universes of the second universe era have been annihilated. It's vital to know about the sector beasts. I have a method to know exactly where all the sector beasts are. I'll give you all the locations of the sector beasts now. Everyone was exhilarated. They were all guarding their own miniature universes, so it was better for them to know the whereabouts of the sector beasts. Just look. Luo Feng pointed at the space in front of him. Suddenly, a giant picture with a diameter of 1 million kilometers showed up. There were signs of miniature universes in the picture. This is a picture of Universe Ocean. Both Holy Lands and all the miniature universes are marked on the picture, and there are also other reference points. All the true gods looked at that picture. "This is the location of the sector beasts," said Luo Feng. Tightly grouped spots of light appeared on the picture. There were so many spots that the true gods grew worried. 900,000. It sounded self-explanatory, but when all 900,000 spots appeared, they were so dense that even the true gods felt anxious. "Please, look," said Luo Feng. 900,000 sector beasts in total, and the half at the periphery haven't even acted yet. About 10,000 sector beasts are gathered around 3 miniature universes, and they are consuming them. The other half are approaching the original universe. Everything looked so clear on the picture. There were around 450,000 light spots, and they were all flying toward the original universe. Seeing those 450,000 spots of light flying toward them terrified everyone. How are we supposed to resist them? How are we supposed to resist so many sector beasts? We only have less than 100 true gods. If several thousand sector beasts swallow one miniature universe, we can only stop a few dozen of them. What should we do? Everyone panicked. They had been worried about it for a long time. "This is a catastrophe," shouted 9 Remoteness True Master. "We'll be lucky to even get through this alive. To resist them? Even if our miniature universes are all swallowed, what can be worse than that? We can still stay alive without our miniature universes. As long as we can kill all the sector beasts in this era, there ought to be new true gods born on our side." It had only been 1 trillion eras since Luo Feng had risen to power. There were still several trillion eras until this universe era ended, and many talents, who were cultivated in the past trillion eras, had become universe masters. If there was enough time, they could certainly become true gods. Several trillion eras. It would be easy for the original universe to breed another 100 true gods. "As long as we annihilate the sector beasts," said 9 Remoteness True Master pointedly, "there will be new true gods born. Even all our miniature universes are destroyed, we can still live in the new miniature universes. If a true god can successfully transcend incarnations, his race will live forever. We have to get past this." "That's right," yelled many true gods. However, many true gods were still worried. Major powers, like the human race and the ancestral god school, could breed new true gods in the next several trillion eras. As for some of the smaller races, like the other races in the Hong Alliance, or some races in the remote territories, a single true god being born was already lucky for them. Besides, not every true god was willing to see his miniature universe broken. Once a miniature universe was destroyed, that true god could never break through in the future. Milky Way, Teacher Origin. The true gods of the human race wanted nothing but to protect the miniature universes of Teacher Origin and Luo Feng. After all, both Luo Feng and Teacher Origin were guaranteed to become true gods of void space and to transcend incarnations. Thoughts flooded their minds, but those races didn't have any other recourse. They could only do their best. Luo Feng had one thought as well: no matter what, let's survive this catastrophe first. Luo Feng had already prepared for his miniature universe to be broken. Although he was reluctant for this to happen, he was mentally prepared for it. Luo Feng looked down. Many true gods were sitting down there, and in a corner sat Sitting Mountain Guest. Teacher. Luo Feng took a look, and Sitting Mountain Guest nodded mildly at him. Teachers also here. Luo Feng sighed. Sitting Mountain Guest had never attended the meetings of the true gods before. However, this was related to all the races in the original universe now, so even Sitting Mountain Guest had come this time. His own miniature universe was threatened as well. Time flew. Curse-filled messages were sent from the communications tokens of true gods from the first universe era and the second universe era. Those who managed to survive hid in Universe Ocean. As for their miniature universes, their races and their friends, they were all annihilated. Presently, the Sector Beast race was divided into two teams. Both teams had more than 450,000 Sector Beasts. Master. Morosa pointed at the model of Universe Ocean. The Sector Beasts are divided into two teams. The first team of the 450,000 is at the periphery. They were originally in the region where the miniature universes from the first universe era are. They are scattered far apart from each other. Luo Feng looked at the model. More than 450,000 spots of light were gathered in that area. It looked quite dense, but actually, each light spot was over 10 million light-years away from the next one. The other team is approaching this area, Morosa said, pointing. Look. The second team of 450,000 Sector Beasts is not flying toward the miniature universes of the original universe, but are proceeding toward your miniature universe. Luo Feng looked at it carefully. The original universe was enormous, so the miniature universes of true gods from the original universe were also scattered in different areas of the original universe. If they wanted to attack all the miniature universes, those Sector Beasts would be separated into dozens of teams, yet they now still gathered together. The dense spots of light all marched toward the miniature universe of Luo Feng. Although they all gathered together, each of the Sector Beasts was still more than 10 million light-years away from its nearest comrade. Luo Feng frowned. What does that mean? Those 450,000 Sector Beasts will arrive at Master's miniature universe very soon, said Morosa. Time flew by. After only a short while, 450,000 Sector Beasts all converged on the miniature universe of Luo Feng from every direction. They want to swallow my miniature universe. Luo Feng frowned. He had Star Tower in his hands, which was a godly king level valuable. The godly body that seemed to belong to godly king of Jin was over 100 million light-years long, so it was possible that such a godly king level valuable could become billions of light-years tall, or even taller. However, the larger Star Tower was, the more godly power it required. If they leave me no choice, I'll just cover my miniature universe with Star Tower and slaughter all those Sector Beasts, Luo Feng thought. However, Luo Feng couldn't be too far away if he wanted to control Star Tower at that size. Master. Morosa was shocked as it said, Master. The first team. Luo Feng took a look. 450,000 Sector Beasts at the first universe era area started to team up and drew closer. Master. Moros was stunned. The second team of 450,000 sector beasts is already close to your miniature universe, and it'll only take a minute for them to arrive and start swallowing. As for the sector beasts from the first team, they are teaming up and fighting each other. 100,000 sector beasts have already been killed. Luo Feng was terrified. He understood now that if those 450,000 sector beasts kept fighting and eating each other, a level 6 sector beast would soon be born. Should Luo Feng go and stop them? If he went, the 450,000 sector beasts would swallow his miniature universe. If he didn't go, a level 6 sector beast would be born. The death of his miniature universe, or the birth of a level 6 sector beast, one of these two would happen. They were forcing Luo Feng to choose. This video will end here.